It looked the same. It was similar, but it's not exactly the same old Celtics in another loss to Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. I'm going to talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you every day. A free, fresh podcast that's dropped directly to your device as soon as I'm done recording it and posting it, which today means probably as you're getting ready for work. I'm sure there's a lot of you who are downloading this and being like, why wasn't this there when I normally get it? This game was an overtime West Coast game. 10 o'clock start on TNT. So everything was stacked against me getting this thing done early. It's just about 5 a.m. here as I'm recording after the Celtics lost to the Golden State Warriors in OT 132 to 126. So, hey, if you're new, subscribe, get this show directly onto your phone or watch the show on YouTube. Ring the bell there, get notified when the show drops there. I'm John Karalis. Used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime has you covered for last-minute tickets. And if you download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. All right, let's get into the meat of this. Later on, I'll talk about the other guys because I think really this game was won in a few different ways. Obviously, Steph Curry, massive in the fourth quarter and huge down the stretch and hitting a bunch of threes. That's what Steph Curry does. Why were the Warriors even in that position? I think early on, their role players were just amazing. And then the Celtics had a third quarter where I think the game was lost in the final half of the third quarter. I'll get to that next in the second segment. This segment, I want to just touch on the overarching feel of this loss where, and I don't want to make the mistake of looking at the comments on Boston Sports Journal, the tweets where people are just incredibly overly negative. I don't want to think that that's where everybody is in, everybody's headspace is. But it does kind of feel like when the reaction is that overly negative, that does represent some segment of the fandom. And I think this feeling of, oh, here we go, same old Celtics, can't hold on to a lead and blah, blah, blah. And in a lot of ways, it felt the same. I get it. It was similar, but similar isn't the same. It was similar in that, yes, the Celtics had a fourth quarter lead. They had a 17-point lead with about 4.5 minutes to go in the third. They couldn't close it out. They relaxed a little bit. Their fourth quarter execution was wonky. Their defense fell apart, and they lost. Right? That all sounds like the same old story. But at the same time, a lot of the things that normally happen in these kinds of losses didn't happen. This wasn't Tatum and Brown against the world, trying to do too much, driving into the teeth of the defense, turning the ball over, giving up points in transition. It wasn't exactly that. I actually think most of the shots the Celtics got were okay. Now, they got a lot of shots, and 114 shots, even with overtime, is a ton of shots. 58 three-pointers is a ton of three-pointers. No doubt about that. I would say, looking back on it, you might argue that, up to 10 maybe were shots that maybe you should have thought twice about, right? There, a couple here, a couple there. They add up over the course of a 48 or 53-minute game. But I think mostly the shots were okay. So what's the difference? 58 3-pointers to 48 3-pointers. It's still going to be a ton of 3-pointers. Now, obviously, in a game that went to overtime, you say, well, a few of those, if they change, they hit that shot, whatever, that would have changed the game. And absolutely, like this is both sides have valid points here. The Celtics shot 41% overall. They shot 29% from three. If they had just shot their normal 3-point percentage, 37.5%, they would have scored 133 points in this game. And that would have been in regulation. That would have been enough to win by 12. It's not exactly how it goes, but the point is the Celtics didn't shoot great. And I'm willing to bet whenever the expected field goal percentage versus the actual field goal percentage is calculated, the numbers will show the Celtics, if they had just made their expected whatever you just a normal shooting night, nothing crazy, nothing too over the top, just a normal shooting night would have been a win. So in some ways you can sit there and say this is going to happen. The Celtics, remember, this could be the game that just balances out beating the Memphis Grizzlies by playing as awful as they did in Memphis. This could just be the Celtics didn't deserve to win that game in Memphis. They could have won this game. They executed well enough for all of the things that we're going to talk about and then we can look back on and complain about and blah, blah, blah. If the Celtics play this game 100 times and take all the exact same shots, I would say they win a majority of those games. They probably win. I'd say they probably win like 60 to 70% of those games, maybe more. These exact shots, layups, shots in the restricted area, wide open 3-pointers. Like Sam Hauser was 0 for 6 from 3. He's never been 0 for 6. So this was a complete outlier game from him. Tatum was 2 for 9. Jaylen was 1 for 4. All right. Drew Holiday, 1 for 5. There are guys who hit at a normal, if they hit at a normal rate, or even not this bad. Even if Hauser goes 2 for 6, 1 for 6 in regulation, that could be a win because it was tied, right? So as I try to catch my train of thought back, the Celtics, if they could they have taken better shots? Sure, absolutely. If you're screaming at your radio or in the shower, wherever you are, if you're screaming, John, they could have taken better shots. They should have taken better shots. Yes, you are right. But also, the shots that they took were fine, right? And if they just hit at a normal rate, they would have won. So I'm not going to be like, this is the exact same thing. Oh, wow, blah, blah, blah. I'm not losing my mind over this loss. I'm really not losing my mind over this loss. Could they have done a lot of things better? Absolutely. Joe Mazzulla said after the game, there are probably like 15 possessions that you could take back and you say, that's not supposed to happen there at all. That can't happen again. This can't happen again. And that's where the third quarter and the fourth quarter come into play. So this is similar to losses that you've seen before from the Celtics. There are mental lapses that cost them. So it's very similar in that regard. They were doing something right. They stopped doing that thing right. And suddenly they lost because they weren't doing the things at the beginning that were working. So in that way, it is very similar, very much the same in an overarching, 30,000 foot view. But when you dig in, it's not the same. And to me, that's important Because if this was exactly the same old stuff, I'd be sitting here a lot more pissed off about it because it would have been a complete reversion. But the way they executed the shots that they got, not perfect, but should have been enough to win this game. So there is a significant part of me that's like, hey, you know what? Kind of have to chalk it up in some regards to it happens. But the execution also absolutely has to be better. Let's talk about that, because I think this game was lost after the 6-minute mark in the third quarter. I'll get to that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. eBay Motors has teamed up with Locked On Fantasy host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week. It's all season long. So if you're prepping for a daily fantasy draft, scouting the waiver wire, these are going to be the picks, the players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So here's what Josh has for us this week. Now, I had been focusing on Brandon Pajemski. He went out. He kind of got hurt boxing out Nemesh Keita. So I don't think that might – we'll see how long he's out, if he's out for an extended period of time. If you picked him up yesterday thinking like, all right, John knows what he's talking about, then the injury kind of screwed that up. So keep an eye on that. You might need to drop him. Maybe you pick up Grayson Allen, who is going to get the minutes with Bradley Beal out. He's going to have the increased usage in that. And I think the Suns, they lost to Phoenix, but I haven't even checked the box score. I'm just going off of Grayson Allen. 11 points, 5 of 10, 1 of 5 from 3. He did have 9 rebounds. He did have 2 steals. So it's not a bad pickup if he's still available in your fantasy league. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being the perfect fit. It's the same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. And at these prices, you are burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. I'm here for you every day. You can also check out Locked On Sports today, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because it's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Get over there. Whatever the big stories are in sports, from NBA to all around the sports world, it's on there in depth. So go check it out. It's fun. It's exciting. And you just put it on and leave it on in the background. Just have it play all day long. And every so often your ear will catch something and be like, oh, that's interesting. And I know about ears catching something. So check out Locked On Sports today. All right, this game was lost in the third quarter, where the Celtics got Steph Curry into foul trouble. It's fifth. He got his fifth foul with 6:07 to go. But instead of closing that quarter out and taking advantage of Curry being out, they allowed the Warriors. In fact, they went from I forget, was it 11-point lead? They pushed the lead up to 17. And after that, it felt like they said, hey, you know what? 17-point lead. We're cruising. These guys are ready to quit. So we're just going to relax over here and just kind of roll to the end of the quarter. And the Warriors said, no. He hasn't fouled out. He still exists over there. We just gotta keep this close so he can come back in the fourth quarter and save us. That's what they did. That was a pivotal moment, those last 4.5 minutes without Curry on the floor. They ended up winning those minutes, the Curryless minutes, by 2. That, when you say something can't happen, that can't happen. The Celtics losing those minutes without Curry by 2 was a killer. Remember, overtime. So I know things change. This isn't just add those, if the Celtics win those minutes, they win the game. But anything you can do to give yourself a bigger lead makes it just a tiny bit less likely that Curry and Klay Thompson are going to be able to lead the Warriors all the way back. But that's that lack of execution, that little relaxation there did them in. But still, 11 points going into the fourth quarter. It doesn't, it could be 20, it could be 25 heading into the fourth quarter. It's still not insurmountable in today's NBA with the 3-pointers and all of that. However, the bigger the lead, obviously, like I said, it just becomes a harder mountain to climb. And then the fourth quarter, the Celtics execution starts to fall apart. They pass up on opportunities to hunt Curry and get him his 6th foul with Jayson Tatum, who hurt his ankle in the first quarter and was never really quite himself after that. But in the fourth quarter, he had plenty of opportunities. He backed down Chris Paul. He went hard to the rim. He was doing stuff in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, the ankle, was it sore? Yes. But could he still back down Steph Curry? Absolutely he could have. There were at least 2 opportunities to do that. But then after that, the Celtics started matchup hunting. It was so weird. They got matchups that were advantageous, and Tatum didn't take advantage of it. And then they started hunting the mismatches, and they got back down to, well, hey, look, guys, it's like 10 seconds on the shot clock. You haven't really done anything. That, again, similar. That's where it gets really similar, because that felt like, these are the Celtics we know. And that's where the execution has to be a little bit better. A little bit of stagnant, a little bit of settling for 3-pointers. Jaylen Brown said so after the game. A little bit of, like, they got good shots. The Celtics got good shots. No doubt about it. How many of those good shots could have been the proverbial good to great? The fourth quarter is all about making buckets. Andre Iguodala said this on his point forward. Did he say it, or did Evan Turner say it? One of those two guys said it in that episode with Jayson Tatum. And I've latched on to that. The fourth quarter is about making buckets. Throw your math out the window. When you've got an 11-point lead, all you need to do is make buckets. So it's not about 3-point shooting volume like it is earlier in the game. It's not all about some of the things the math things that Joe Mazzulla believes, and a lot of NBA people believe, and that I also have bought into, because the math is the math. The numbers are the numbers. But in the fourth quarter, you kind of throw that out. Just like in the playoffs, you throw that out. And it becomes about what's the highest percentage shot you can get. Now, some of that is wide open 3-pointers, right? Some of those are the open threes, but then you get a little bit more situational, right? Maybe the guy who's super cold and you don't want to mess with his confidence, but hey, how about this? You've been cold. You've been off. A little bit of recognition. I know you get the confidence that the next one is going in, but how about just stepping into something? Maybe you drive a little bit more. Maybe you just get yourself into a nice little mid-range shot that you can just bank in. Something easy. Look at what Chris Paul did. Chris Paul didn't want to shoot. He was 0 for whatever. And look what Chris Paul did. They he mid-range master. He stepped into some of those mid-range shots, and those started to fall. And that kind of held the fort down and allowed Steph Curry to do what he did. Some of those shots, even Jayson Tatum whether it's hunting Curry or not, you got him in the post. It's Steph Curry. And yeah, it's Steph Curry with 5 fouls. Take that opportunity to post him up, back him down, spin baseline, get a layup. Take those opportunities. That's the execution part. The fourth quarter is about making buckets. In the fourth quarter, the Celtics barely made any buckets. 6 of 22 overall, 4 of 12 from 3, 2 of 10 from 2. So not great in either regard. But find yourself the highest percentage shots. Take those high percentage shots. They had some quick trigger threes. I think Al Horford launched, not in the fourth quarter, but in overtime, maybe launched a couple of quick ones. I think in the third quarter, he had a couple that I was like, you know what? Is that really the shot that you want to get? And so that's my little quibble here. That's where I have my biggest thing in this game. And look, I'm not even talking about the defense in this game, which was, you give up 45% shooting, 40% from 3. The Celtics defensively were not there. Maybe Kristaps Porzingis changes that, and certainly Kristaps Porzingis changes fourth quarter execution to a degree, but he wasn't there. They still could have won this game. They had it. They didn't need Porzingis to win this game. Get yourself better shots. Work for some better shots. The shots were good, but I really wanted to see a few good to great. Just work it a little bit. Understand that as the game changes, as the game goes on, you shift a little bit of what you're doing. Simple. I'll talk more about this, but the role players, guys stepped up for the Warriors that were just like, sometimes you just got to throw your hands up and be like, well, if this guy's going to make these plays, well, what are you going to do? We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show brought to you by Gametime. Gametime has you covered for last-minute tickets. You know how frustrating it is to get last-minute tickets, buying tickets to anything. Gametime can get you these tickets fast and easy for everything: sports, music, comedy, theater events. They got last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, the best price guarantee. So Gametime is absolutely where you want to go for tickets. Maybe you're stuck for a last-minute Christmas gift. Go to the Gametime app. Get these tickets. You know you're going to get the best deal because they've got that Gametime guarantee. If you find tickets in the same row and section for less, they credit you 110% of the difference. So you know you're going to get the best price. If you're thinking like, oh, God, what do I do? What do I put in this stocking? Well, you go, you check out their zone deals. They pick the seats. You get an average of 18% savings. You can see on the app what the view looks like, so you know exactly what you're giving the person you're giving the gift to. All-in prices show the total up front, so you're not going to be like, oh, good, here's something I can afford, and then you get to checkout and you're like, wait a minute, you tacking on fees. No, it's all-in pricing up front, so you can buy these tickets in seconds with 2 taps. So last-minute tickets, last-minute gift, it's very simple. Download the Gametime app, and here's the best part. If you haven't created an account yet, do it right now. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. So you're kind of saving money left and right here with Gametime. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED on NBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA after you're done here. The Celtics schedule is messing with me on the Locked On NBA show. I haven't been on last week. I'm not going to be on this week, but it's still a great show without me. Trust me, because all those hosts are awesome. They're great across the board. And especially my regular partner, Jake Madison, who covers the Pelicans. He's got a fun team to cover. And boy, what a game that was over there. Not for him, but that was John Morant's back. That's an interesting one that they're going to be talking about on the Locked On NBA podcast. The Celtics had opportunities, but man, how about Trace Jackson Davis, who out of nowhere, 10 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocked shots. this is including one on Jaylen Brown, who had a dunk and he came over and blocked that. There's the picture of it I used it for Boston Sports Journal. Oh my God. I mean, he is right up there. He meets Jaylen right at the top. His elbow was at the rim. Jaylen is up there. He is dunking that thing, and Trace comes over and just denies him. That alone, the dude's a rookie. He comes in, gives them 28 and a half great minutes, was 5 of 7, 4 offensive rebounds. He even had an assist. The 3 block shots were massive. This is the little stuff, right? Curry gets all the shine for doing what he did and finishing this game off. Klay Thompson gets a ton of shine. He's kind of like rounding into form, right? 6 of 15 from 3, 24 points for him. So what's that? 57 points combined. But Trace gives them 10 points. Saric early on, the Celtics say, hey, look, we're going to make you beat us. Okay, no problem. 11 points early on. 10 points from Moses Moody. Kuminga steps up with 17 points. These are the guys that early on, and Kuminga with some really good defense. These are the guys that end up winning the game for the Warriors because they keep the game close enough for Curry to do what he does. And they outplayed Boston's role players because, like I said, Sam Hauser, 0 points, 0 for 6. The most 3-pointers he's ever taken in the NBA without hitting one. Svi Mikhailiuk comes in, does nothing. He only plays a couple of minutes. I think that's a whole different story. Nemayesh Keita, awesome for him. 10 points, 10 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds. I think all but one of them are off his own misses, but great energy early on. He did a great job. But the Warriors role players did enough where, look, Al Horford, 4 of 14 in this game. Yeah, 13 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, but he was a -8. The efficiency wasn't there. Holiday, not his best shooting game. Again, he was a -14, team worst. Brissett comes in, does okay, but 6 points, right? Mikhailiuk doesn't have it. His confidence seems shot. It's the role players. It's those guys that are the difference between winning and losing because they keep the game close. And when it came time for it, the stars for the Warriors closed the game out. And Tatum, who was hobbled, just didn't have it, couldn't hit the shots. And that was that. Jaylen Brown, I thought, played really well. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists for him, tied with Tatum for the team high. He did have 4 turnovers as opposed to I've been touting how his turnovers have been like 2 or 3, and now he had 4 in this game. Oh, well, like that's going to happen every once in a while. But I think they probably should have gone to Jaylen a little bit more. Again, when I talk about shots that you can make, Jaylen getting the ball, in the fourth quarter, he was 0 for 2. Got to get him more touches than that in the fourth quarter. In 7 minutes, get him some touches in the spots where he's comfortable. Let's get him. I mean, he showed he can close these games. Tatum was 0 for 4. That's you can't have a fourth quarter where Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are combined 0 for 6. And then there's that last play. I'll finish this by saying the last play. I thought the last play was terrible. I'm okay with not calling a timeout. The last play of the fourth quarter, it's tied. Chris Paul and Steph Curry are on the floor. They don't want to foul out, or Curry doesn't want to foul out. Those are 2 guys you can attack. You call a timeout, those guys come off the floor. But also, you got to attack them. You can't have Tatum isolating at the logo with 7 seconds to go, just standing there with his back to the basket. That doesn't work. The whole power of the Celtics offense is All of these guys can hit shots. If Tatum is standing there against Kuminga and saying, oh, well, I'm going to attack this matchup, why? Why? You didn't call a timeout because you want to keep the weak defenders on the floor. Go attack one of these weak defenders. You have plenty of time. 7 seconds. That's plenty of time to run some kind of action. Run a screen. Call a play. Call a play where Tatum use a pick from Derek White. He had Curry on him. Use a pick from Drew Holiday. He had Chris Paul on him. And what are they going to do? You're going to blitz Tatum? Sure, no problem. Then you give it up to Derek White or you give it up to Drew Holiday, and one of them gets a wide open shot. They can step all the way in, get into rhythm. Though I trust those guys to take a last-minute shot. Why not? I trust Derek White to take a last-minute shot. I trust those guys to make a play because 8 seconds, 7 seconds, you run that pick, 6 seconds, they start to blitz Tatum if they do that. 5 seconds, you dump it off to one of those guys who gets to drive. Boom, 2 dribbles. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. The defense reacts. Kick it out. 2 seconds. Somebody's going to get an open shot. A clean look. Tatum doesn't have to do this every damn time. A three-pointer when the game is tied, a fadeaway contested three-pointer when the game is tied, is the worst shot you can get. Tatum on a pull-up contested three is like a 28% shot. That's the worst shot you can get. Sorry. That's not why this team is built this way. So, but that's not on Joe necessarily. That's not on Joe Mazzulla necessarily. The timeout, I'm good with not calling the timeout. Keep the weak defenders on the floor. Everybody on the floor needs to recognize this. And if I'm saying to Joe anything, it's like, call a play, call something. Get these guys organized from the sidelines. Just call something. Just say this, blah, blah, blah. Run a play, horn set, something. Call something from the sidelines. You don't have to call a timeout. These guys are professionals. They're all NBA players. They're all stars, borderline all stars. They can figure this out. What they got was terrible. But as always, it should never have come to that. The third quarter should have been better. The shots they got during the fourth quarter should have been better. And frankly, they were still good enough where they just could have shot better. Make a couple of layups. They would have been okay. But at that point, you get to that situation, that last minute shot, that last second shot. That was garbage. That was garbage. That one I'm pissed off about because that's garbage. Sorry, Jayson Tatum. I know you're a great player, but that was a garbage shot. You might have confidence that you're going to hit that, but the numbers are the numbers. That shot's been like a 28% shot for 2 years now. So, sorry. Got to do better. This team is built to be better, and that's why I'm not worried about the loss necessarily. But now it's about, hey, recognize it. Learn from this. Right? You have these opportunities. Learn from that execution. Why the hell is Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, why the hell are those guys on the floor? It's not just the space and let you go one-on-one. No, that's not all they're on the floor for. They're there to set picks. You can make passes. Don't worry about turning the ball over. You can make a pass. You run a simple pick and roll. Do something. Right? Run some off-ball action for somebody to spring open. Maybe Tatum makes a pass. If Michael Jordan can make a pass to win an NBA Finals game, you can make a pass to win a game against Golden State on December 19th. So, mix it up. Got to be better. Got to be better in that spot. Just got to be better. But again, I'm not like as worked up as I got over that last second shot. I'm not really worked up about the loss necessarily. Losses happen. They're not going to win every game, right? And I know it's the Warriors, and like, oh, I didn't want to lose to the Warriors, but it is what it is. You're gonna lose those games sometimes. Kind of had a weird feeling that they might. So we'll see. Just now, back to back, Sacramento. That's going to be tough. I'll be here for you again. Hopefully not this late, but I will be here for you again. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Subscribe. Become an everydayer. Be with me every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts whenever they play, post-game podcasts after every game. I would love it now if you share the podcast, spread the word, tell your friends, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.